Thank you for hanging out with me today. I'm JB Bryan, the Chief Investment Officer and President of JB Bryan Financial Group, a registered investment advisory firm and the home of AfroEconomics, a strategic financial program designed for the advancement of Black wealth in America and abroad. Our Black wealth matters. Today's topic is building wealth, not just your resume. How about that? Too many times I see financial statements from people who have worked forever. That's why I'm so thankful that now as you work, you can use the principles of AfroEconomics to make sure that you are building wealth while you work. We think about job to job, just getting out of school, getting a job, but not about the first thing, the first principle, and the first thing that we should think about while we work, because it's going to keep us focused on wealth development for generations ahead of us. That if we think about principle one, legacy, the first principle of AfroEconomics, knowing why you're working. See, if you think about why are you here, why are you at the workplace, why are you giving this corporation, this entity, this business, why are we doing this? That you have to have a bigger purpose so that you can focus on not just spending every dime that you make, that this money that I'm making is leading to a greater good for generations to come because of the daily habits that you establish. So the first thing I want to talk about is how we're going to build wealth, and not just our resume, is to utilize the first principle of AfroEconomics and remember why you are working. Interesting news flash yesterday was about Mary J Blige, and everybody was talking about like she's going through a divorce. And I've seen so many stories of divorce, but the most successful, wealthy people that come out of a divorce have been the ones that say, what do you want? They give the person what they want, and they continue to make money. If Mary J Blige allows herself to get caught up in the legalities of this, and that it will go on for years and years and years, fighting over what could really end up being a minuscule amount, because she's not going to have to pay him alimony for life if she structures it correctly. She can say, I will pay you alimony for this particular fixed amount of time, and it might end up being, say, $6 million, because he's asking for like 130,000 or something a month or whatever. So say it's, comes out to say $2 million or whatever a year. And if you do that, that's $10 million over the next 10 years, should be nothing to her. That's the way we have to focus on it. I've been through divorce, and I could not have survived. My business would not have survived. I would not have survived if I got caught up in the little stuff. So I had to continue to focus on my dream, my why, my legacy, protecting that and moving forward. We must stay focused on what are we here for, what is God's purpose for us, and continue to move forward. If they're not on your team, get it moving, do what you got to do, cut your losses, because hey, that's 13 years. She's at 130,000 a month. Imagine if that was 20 years. Think about it. So let's look at some building wealth and not just your resume. Another tip for you is to plan everything. Let's make sure that we make a plan. That's principle 3, planning. We're going to fix any weaknesses that you see while you're working, while you're in this accumulation stage. You might have, unnecessary memberships. You might have a membership to an expensive gym and you're not going, but you do need to go to the gym, but maybe you don't need to go to the one that's costing you $300, or maybe if it was only $50 a month, then you would go, because you wouldn't have to come up with all of that extra money. You would have a little bit of extra time possibly. But anyway, don't waste your money. It's hard for me to say don't get rid of a gym membership if you really need a gym membership, but in most cases, people don't need a gym membership. They just need the motivation to get out there and just run, walk, stop eating, whatever you got to do, and that is free. So then you might have an unnecessary internet bill, cable bill, Netflix bill. If you are not watching Netflix, but they're taking the money from you every month, but clean up, make a plan, look at what you're doing, look at the weaknesses in your wallet, weaknesses in your account right now. There's so many things. I have started to just really be real careful. Now I remember early in my career, I thought it was impressive to have someone else that was always handling things. So I would hand over things to my little accountant and this and that. And I ended up having to fire him because he became an extension specialist, and extensions do not allow you to do proper financial planning for your business. So he got fired. Now my current bookkeeper that assists me, because I do most of these things, because thank God I'm a financial professional. We work as a partnership. I encourage all business owners, when it comes to your money, you work in a partnership. All checks go through me. I sign everything. Everything goes through me. If my cards are used, it's because I asked you to use it. Everything, your money should be regulated, and you have to handle yourself personally the same way. So look at whatever weaknesses you have. My clients are very wealthy, and they are very particular about the money they spend. They'll say, JB, do you think you could save me money on this homeowner's insurance, my car insurance? They have learned how important it is to have your money working for you, not you just working for your money. And that's what we want to do. That, as I was asked on a television interview earlier this week, they said, well, what if people just don't have the money? I said, then they need to be even more particular about how their money is spent. We do. We have to be very particular. Wealth is not something that just happens. Wealth for most of us has to be something that we create. We have to build this. We're not born into it. And people that are born into it have the challenge of keeping habits that they never had to create. So it's more likely for us to be able to keep it, because when you built something, you know how you did it. And when you mess up something, you also know what you did to mess up. So you know everything that you did wrong. I was listening to someone talk about Thomas Edison, and he kept trying over and over and over and over to invent like the light bulb. And his partner said, you know, man, my goodness, it's been like 9,000 times. And he said, yes. And now I know 9,000 ways how not to do it. And I also know how to make small explosions. And you never know when I'm going to need a small explosion. And I said, you know, we have to look at every time we continue to try to get this thing right, we are learning something along the way. There's a book out there called Peaks and Valleys, and it talks about that when you're in the valley, that's when you're supposed to be learning and accumulating a lot of information. So the next time you're on top, because you will be, you'll stay up there. You'll stay up there because of the habits you learned and the character that you built while in the valley. And so we know that so let me just quickly summarize that we're some ways of building wealth while we're working is keep being mindful of our legacy and what our purpose is. Also making sure that we're fixing and cleaning up all the things that are wasting our money. And that's in principle 3, making sure that we're doing our planning and proper usage and organizing. And principle 3 is organizing and planning. Vital. What about developing a budget? Also part of that principle, getting a budget and sticking to it. Woo! Isn't it hard? But we gotta make it easy. I was invited to speak at a college, and they entitled the workshop "More Money, More Problems." You know, and I said, I wish I had known about the title of this before I got here, because this is definitely more money, no problems should be the title of this. What we have to do is learn to budget, learn to live within the means. And their whole emphasis was that, you know, they were going to be making a lot of money, more than they've ever made, when they graduated and what to do with it, you know, making it seem like they're going to be like making all of this money. You know, it's like, I mean, you're going to be making money, but you're going to also have more bills than you ever had. But you know, that it was funny that they were like, I don't know. How can bills be a problem when you're getting what you want? I don't even understand when I hear people complaining about paying bills when they should just be thankful that they can pay them and be mindful of what you're creating when you sign on the dotted line. Look at the fine print, realize the responsibility to it, especially on those school loans. Amazing that so many people are going into so much debt that impacts their entire life almost, because I mean, people are getting a lot of school loan debt when they don't really know the proper things that they should be thinking about. I don't know if they thought about it, how long it would take for them to accumulate $150,000 if they'd really be that quick to go into $150,000 debt. And they would say, like, maybe I can find a less expensive way to get this degree. Because we have to be mindful that it is an investment, and your point is to try to get a return on that investment. But if that's going to start costing you $600 a month upon graduation, it's also slowing down your ability to accumulate for your future. So you better get out and really make some money. So get a budget that you can stick to. Make it very simple. We make things way too complicated, but when you're creating that budget to build your wealth, you want to include in that budget that I have to reduce my spending money by this amount pre-tax. If you're working somewhere or if you have your own business, pre-tax. First thing is paying for yourself. First thing is making sure that your future is secure. That's the first thing to do. Make sure. There's people who have businesses and don't make sure that they're contributing to Social Security, or don't make sure that they're contributing to unemployment insurance and things like that. You know, that those things, even though you own your own business and you're getting away with it, it is not good for you. There are people who have worked their own business, done whatever they did forever, and then when they are retirement age or run into an unfortunate disability, they don't qualify because they haven't been doing their paperwork correctly. So make sure that you realize that these expenses, things as a business owner or as an employee, all those things have to be taken out on top. That's part of how you manage yourself. Saving for your future, insuring yourself, protecting your assets, insuring your life, insuring your income, protecting your existence by exercising as well, making sure that you stay healthy, don't develop bad habits that cost you a lot of money. So being careful. It's amazing how much a simple act of smoking can cost you when you factor in that it can reduce your life expectancy. It can lead to more sick days. It can lead to you paying more for your life insurance over your lifetime. There are so many things. We need to look at those type of things and look at how much they're costing us. Just like you would look at Netflix, look at the bad habit. Do you go out and you drink every weekend, and how much do you spend on that drinking? How does it pull away from what you're trying to do? Could you be doing other things that are creating income during that time? So that's the third thing to think about. We're building wealth, not just our resume. Making a plan to get out of debt if you're in debt. Making sure that you realize that your wealth, your net worth, is your assets minus your liabilities. So you might have a whole bunch of assets, but your liabilities may exceed your assets. And that's how you see these multimillionaires, and they go, what do you mean they're filing bankruptcy? They have this huge mansion. Well, they can't sell the mansion for what they paid for it, so now they owe the bank $10 million, and that can just wipe them out. That can tear them up. So we have to be careful and realize what real worth is, and that we need to make sure that we're in a positive place, that our assets minus our liabilities are a positive number. Remember those numbers I quoted you before? Essence magazine had printed that the average net worth of a black woman was $100. That's scary. So we have to, really work on. Washington Post did an article about how the average white family had like 10 times in their savings account than what we had. I don't know, don't quote me on that, but their Washington Post ran an article that we just don't have the cash available that we need. And it's a crisis across America, but for AfroEconomics, it's even more of a crisis because unfortunately, even our college educated are getting paid less in their jobs. So we're putting the money into going to school, getting jobs that pay less, and it's creating a crisis for us. So we have to figure out how to change this. And we're going to do it through AfroEconomics. We're going to make sure that we realize that debt is not always our friend. There were some years back, and I realized that I just did not want to be in debt. And we have to make that decision that we don't want that type of stress. If not, it will carry you through all the way through life. There's too many seniors that are worried about how to make their house payment. That's a challenge. That's really hard. So so make sure that you look at what your financial goals are, and is your debt slowing you down from your ability to save for your future the way you want to? How I'm gonna see what my job is to tell you how to put that money into your 401k, how to divide it up. But I've got to get you so that you have money to put in there first, right? So that's what we're working on, is having the money available so that you can be putting away 10, 20% of your check, and that you can leave it alone, that you're not going back in there taking out loans on your retirement account, so that you're not accumulating at the pace that you could as well. Or then you decide you want to switch jobs and you want to roll out and things like that, and you have this loan that's existing, or they decide to cut down and there's a loan there, even though it is your money, and they tell you, oh yeah, you're using your own money, no, you're making a payment back. So if you're paying $300 a month towards that loan, that's $300 you're not putting additional savings in there. You're paying that loan back. So what we've got to do is focus on living within our means, reducing our debts so that we don't have to slow down our accumulation for our future. And then, okay, what about making more money? Building wealth through making more money. And an interesting bit of research that I was looking at yesterday is that a big problem is that people are leaving school and starting off their career making far less than they should be, because they're just desperate to accept any kind of job. And because a lot that happens to our community a lot, because we don't have anywhere to live for 2 or 3 years that doesn't need. A lot of our parents need you, they need your help. You can't just go back and live with them until you get that job that you really want, that many other communities are able to do. So what we need to be conscious of is that if you accept a job that's way below where you should be in pay, based on the investments and the knowledge and the information that you have to offer, it can hurt you for the rest of your career if you don't change that quick. You've got to get yourself on the level where you are. Where you start, yes, can make a dramatic difference in where you end up. I remember my first job offer while I was still in college was at a bank. And the bank asked me to be a credit analyst. That's like, looking at on the commercial side and analyzing businesses and their assets and their balance sheets and things like that. And I knew that I did not want to make that little bit of money that the bank was offering. I also knew it wasn't what I wanted to do. I wanted to do sales. So I kept, looking for that. And I knew I was going to go to graduate school, but I knew I wanted sales. So I kept trying to get this sales opportunity, sales opportunity, sales opportunity. And it's very hard to get a sales job when you don't have sales experience. All I have is this great degree from this great school, business, double major, and a minor, all this stuff. And I worked all the way, 3 jobs through college, all the time, but it's still not sales experience. So what I did was take that job and kept trying to look, kept trying to look, kept trying to look. If I had not changed, I would not be where I am right now. If I had not said, I'm not going to settle for this. Now, everybody at college was like, this is a great opportunity. You're getting in the door at the bank, blah, blah, blah. I doubled my income in sales versus that salary that they were offering me at that bank. But that took risk. You have to be willing to take the risk and the chance of doing a job that will allow you to make a lot more income. But there's risk there. There is risk there. It probably would have reduced a lot of stress over my lifetime if I had stayed at that. But that is not my purpose. That is not the path that God had for me. And the earlier we realize what path is for us, the less frustrated we are, the less stress we have, and we accept responsibility. The crazy part is if I had stayed at the bank and just been miserable and made life miserable for everyone else, that's selfish. Because we have to realize that that's the job that you decided to be, and you put 100% into that. So, but my point is that if we want to make more money, we're going to have to be willing to take more risks. We're going to have to be willing to increase our confidence. We're going to have to be willing to look into other areas, increase your skill set if necessary, but you're going to have to be aggressive and go out there and get it, or turn your hobby into an income. Go and get a part-time job. Do what you've got to do if you need to make more money. I was talking to a brother that I've known for over 30 years. He told me that he works 3 jobs. That's amazing. That is amazing. And getting it done, though. Getting it done. And that's number 6 is to make sure that you save automatically. Set it up. Even if you own your own business, you can set it up for automatic draft into your investment account. You can set it up for automatic draft into a savings. Everything can be automated now. We have no excuse. Set it up automatically right through the employer, so you just don't see it. You will make it work if it's gone. You will adjust accordingly. We certainly will. And then also I want to remind us again to always, for wealth, remember why you are working. Just like I started, you know what I mean? I want to reiterate it again, that you're working not just for you. So we have to make sure that we incorporate into here. I want to encourage us to learn about deferred gratification. That we have to know that wealth is about not enjoying all of the fruits of your labor right now, but that to develop true wealth is going to take the gift of delayed gratification. And the earlier we incorporate delayed gratification into our lives, the wealthier that we will be, and every generation after us will be as well. And then also, also make sure that if you are investing, I want to emphasize here is that you do automatically set up appointments with your, what I call special teams, your financial advisor, your accountant, your lawyer. Set everything up automatically, that once a year, once a quarter, twice a year, make sure that you're meeting with them. I meet with my clients regularly to make sure that things haven't changed as far as their risk tolerance, or if they're going to be needing some income, we need to make adjustments, make some change, sell some things, move things around. Do you need additional life insurance? How is the life insurance going? How is things? Do you need to look into disability, long-term care? How are things for your family? How are things going? That you have to make a commitment to have a team of people that are about your wealth development. So let's just call that 8, making sure that you develop a team. As I was saying on Facebook this morning about, all of this stuff being public about Mary J. Blige's situation. She must not have the team that she deserves, because some people in Hollywood go through divorces and it just goes through so smooth and you never hear about it. And, you know, they might say a story like so-and-so agrees to pay, blah, 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 blah. And then that's it. They don't have to go through. We need to, you know, have that team set up. You know, her team is weak because it's everything that comes out about you. You want to make sure that it represents that you're okay. This is all right. She's going to be all right. That, you know, she has no problem with this. They're going to settle this on their own, and you know, that everything will be, you know, calmly resolved. And you know, but you got to have the right team in order for everything to be done according to your character, according to your liking, and make sure that they're on your team. And it is not easy. Now you see these superstars, super rich people who can't get people to cooperate and always look out for them. So imagine us normal people trying to make sure that everybody that surrounds us is on our team. But be conscious of that. If you want to be building wealth and not just a resume, make sure your team is set. Even where you work, they need to be on your team. You need to be working in an environment that understands your ultimate goal so that your income can be increasing. If you know that you're in a job and you have a boss that is not about you and is not going to encourage and allow you to grow as a person, you got to have that resume updated and take that chance of making sure that you move on while everything is in good terms. Because if you allow that frustration, you know, to manifest, you need a good recommendation to make sure you go on to the next step. So then number 9 is credit. And that's, you know, key principle number 8 of AfroEconomics. This is the AfroEconomics workbook, being credit savvy. And I'm working on changing it for 2017. I'm excited about that. I said, I'm going to like change the workbook every year. That would be fun. You know, that whole fabulous print on demand thing. We don't have to like keep all that inventory around. So so this was, you know, the first, this is the second, this is the legacy edition of the workbook. But in the principle 8, credit savvy, and that's a big part of wealth development, making sure that you're in tune with your credit score, checking your credit regularly, and making sure that you know what's on your credit, anything being applied for, what is your credit score. When you're going in and you're asking for things, you should not be at their mercy. You should know if you have good credit or not. If you don't have good credit, please don't go into any additional debt. Don't do it. Don't do it. And finally, check yourself. Do regular checkups on if you're on your wealth path. If you are happy with every aspect of your life, all of the 10 principles, are you happy with all aspects of your life? Are you on the path that you had set for yourself for this year, for these 5 years, for this decade? Multimillionaires think in decades and generations. That's the mindset that we want to be. So the principles of AfroEconomics are your legacy. Number 1, self-reliance and financial independence. Principle 2, organization and planning. Principle 3, knowledge and what you don't know can hurt you. So we want to increase our knowledge. And principle 4, integrity, the soul of your money. Principle 5, review and accountability. What we just talked about, check yourself. That's principle 6. The Fearless Entrepreneur, the book that I'm working on right now, AfroEconomics, the Fearless Black Entrepreneur, will be out, God willing, by the end of this year. Principle 7. And principle 8, have credit confidence. 9, determination. And principle 10, Black health and Black wealth. You better believe it. Your health affects your wealth. I hope this discussion about build wealth and not just your resume hits home for you, because it certainly does for me. You know, they say that you teach what you want to learn. When I talk with you, I am bringing this. I have made a commitment to walk like I talk, because I want to be a living example of AfroEconomics. Thank you for your time today. enjoy every moment of this day. Please check out AfroEconomics.com or JBBryan.com. And my phone number is 844-JB Bryan. And we have workshops all the time. So go to the website, and we have workshops coming up. And these discussions, I consider them workshops because I want you to put your comments down. Email me, jb@afroeconomics.com. But enjoy your day. Thank you for your time. And I am here for you. Be blessed.